Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. So today we will be talking about communication, templates, and how to send automatic reminders for quotes and invoices, as well as being able to set reminders in advance. So I'm going to share my screen now and let's get started. Okay, so reminders are set both through job type templates and also through the customer themselves. First off, we're going to have a look at creating templates. So these templates can be used through the job type as well to save time when you're creating your job types. And there's a couple of things to remember when we're doing those. So we'll just go through a few of those points. So in your web portal in the top right-hand corner, you have the settings cog. From here, you'll be able to select email and SMS. And then you have templates. So in here, when you're creating a template, as I said, they can be used through the CRM when you're manually doing something, or when you want to send a report again to a customer potentially that you haven't had through the automated process of submitting a form, or a customer asks for it to be resent to them. So the template, when you're creating it, the key thing to remember if you're going to use this template to save time when you're making your job type is to not use any job placeholders when you're not using that communication through a job type. So if you're just sending an email to a customer and it's not connected to a job, obviously you can't use the job placeholders because there's no connection for that job information to come in. So when we talk about placeholders, we're referring to being able to connect to information in really the core of where you're sending that communication from. So if you're sending it through a contact, there's contact information available. And when you're sending it through a job, there's obviously job information available. So you can choose a template if you've already created some templates before. If you're looking to create a new template, you can choose if it's an email, a letter, or an SMS. So for instance, if you're making an email template, you can use the subject field to write your subject. Again, you can use placeholders. And then as well for your content, you can use placeholders as well. So placeholders are control space, and you'll be able to pick up a lot of information that's available through Formitize to be able to pull that data in. Again, for things like quotes and invoices, those placeholders can only be used when you're sending that communication through the Smart Assist of the quote and invoices, and we'll go through that today as well. So the content can be whatever you wish for it to be. You'll see here it can be as simple as, please find attached your report to your customer, whatever you need it to be. And you can still make changes when you send this communication. So case by case, when you're sending the communication through the contact, you may add some extra information in there. That's totally up to you. The template's just an easy way to have some standardized communication within your business. Okay, so when you're creating a template, you can, as I said, use it in your job type. So when you create your job type, you may, every time you create a job as such, send communication to the client to say, thank you for booking a job with X business, and all of that other generic information. You may say that on 5 different job types that you have. So instead of making that on the 5 different job types, you can create it here as a template, and then you can go into job types and choose that template and still make changes to it individually. And I'll show you how to do that now. So in your jobs module, and then job type templates, you can click on your job type that you're making changes to or that you're creating. So in your job status updates, for example, you can add your new communication to be an email, maybe when the job is created, and you'll see here that you've got the option to choose the template that you want to use. So that can be a way to make the process a bit faster when you're creating your job types, or you can create them individually on each individual job type. So we'll come back to job types again a bit later. I'm going to talk about quotes and quote reminders. So again, in your settings cog, you have the Smart Assist. So you'll see that we've got that for your lead pipeline, for quotes, invoicing as well. So with your quotes, you'll see that you can have, again, as like we do in job type templates, where you can have multiple reminders send. On a quote, it's generally about, following up after a quote has been sent to a customer to get them to engage in converting that quote into a job or into an invoice. But you may choose to send communication before the quote date, so before it's due, just to remind the customer that it's there. So totally up to you on how you want to send it. So again, you've got your email, SMS, PDF letter, or an internal task. So the internal task is where you're notifying your team to action something, and that may be before or after. So if you're thinking about a process that needs to be followed when a quote has it's been a few days after a quote or a job, all of those things are thinking about the whole process in the job, quote, or invoice that you need to do. So if you think about bringing on new staff and how are they going to know what needs to happen after an invoice, for example, or after a job, you can have those tasks to trigger those new staff members or existing staff members to know what your workflow process is. So it makes it really easy for them to understand what needs to happen. So similar to our job type communication, you can have your reminders send X amount of hours, days, or months after the quote date, before the quote expires, or after the quote expires. So you can really have an automated process surrounding the entire quote scenario. So obviously, depending on whether or not the quote gets converted to an invoice, communication that doesn't need to trigger isn't going to go because it's no longer a quote anymore. You've converted it into an invoice. So you can make sure that you are, although spending the time doing a quote with a client, making sure that you're getting that business as well. So you'll see that the email subject is using a placeholder. Now that placeholder can be any information that you can see on the list. So any of that detail is relating back to the quote itself. You then have the communication. So wherever you can put information that is important to the customer to be able to see, you can use the placeholder information in here to be able to communicate clearly with the client. You'll see in some instances where the email signature is needing to be added. So it will automatically add when you send an email through the CRM, but here in our quotes, we just need to add that in. So I'll show you how to do it. So just free text and using control space, and we can bring in things like the business name, business telephone, those sorts of things. Okay. Make sure you save on each of the reminders that you have set up throughout this process. They don't need to be created in any particular order. You can create those as you wish, and they will just happen as they're intended to. So you can see this one where we're talking about a task back to your admin team. It's just a quick note reminding them to follow up with the client and see why they haven't accepted the quote that you've provided, and then just some basic information. You can choose to have extra information in this space if you would like to. So invoice reminders are quite similar in this concept. So again, in our settings cog and down to Smart Assist and invoices, you can see here that we've got multiple reminders going out. Now with your invoices, quite often clients will have an invoice attached to a job that's a draft invoice before they actually go to the job. So just making sure that you're having your invoice status, if this suits your business, that you're only sending the reminders once the invoice is open. So as you can appreciate, if you've got a draft invoice and you may not go out to the job, for whatever reason, you don't want the customer to be getting a reminder. You would primarily have it when that invoice is open, which means that it's payable because the job has been done. So make sure that that is set to what your business needs. So again, having that communication, choosing the communication type, when you want that to happen. So in this instance, 2 days after the invoice is due, again, we've got the invoice reminder and the quote and the invoice number, sorry. And then thank you for choosing your business. Here's your quote number and the remaining balance outstanding. Okay, so as you progress in the days after the invoice is due increase, your communication may become firmer to the client about making that payment because it is overdue. And then at the last point here, you can see that we've got a task to ourselves. So this is where you're going to jump in as a person and address that accordingly. So depending on your own business processes of when that is going to be, then you can have those set in place so that you're just reminded when it does get to that point, as opposed to having to always have a look at what invoices are outstanding and working out how far overdue they are. Okay, so quotes, invoices, reminders, quite similar in the way that they work. Again, you can use the communication that we've been talking about manually as well. So if you're looking at sending communication to a contact through the CRM, you can click on contacts. And then within the contact themselves, you can send communication. So if I click on my contact, in the communication tab, I've got the option to be able to send communication straight from here. So we can also do it through other parts of the portal, and I'll show you those in a moment as well. So if we were to send communication, again, choosing the type of communication, it's automatically connected to the client. Great example that I've chosen, the customer doesn't have an email address, so I'll fix that right now and show you how easy that is to do. So added in the email address for our customer. And then when we're refreshing and sending communication, their email address will populate. So sending communication, again, choosing email. There we go. There's their email address there. So I can choose a template that I've already created, or I can manually type, and I can still add further info here. You can see that this is going to bring in the email footer. I can choose to send a copy to myself as well. I can send the communication and create a task. So like how the task can be created from quote, invoice, and job type communication, it can also be done here. So it may be that you're sending an email and you want to set yourself a reminder to follow up that email. You can do that right here. So it makes it really easy. So it's just like a to-do list, and we'll go into tasks in more detail a bit later, but just so you know that you can do that in this space as well. You can create this email as a template. So if this is the first time that you've sent it to a customer and you think, oh, this will be a really good template to have on record in your account, you can do that at this point as well. Or you can just send the email, and that communication will then be available in your history on that particular customer. So you can have a look at that at any time. It makes it really easy to go back to. Okay, so with clients communication, so it may be that you're moving to Formitize and you need to set up what would be generally in your account when you're up and running using our jobs would be your automatic job communication. So until you have actually booked a job into Formitize and completed that job to trigger the communication, the way that you get future communication to be sent to the client is through reminders. So within the contact itself, you can create a new reminder. which can be an email that's sent in the future. So it may be a reminder that you did a job with them previously, and that may be from your paper diary or from another system, and now you've moved to Formitize. So you can make it quite simply just communication to the client to say, we came out to see you, within the last 12 months, and it's a good idea for us to come back again to see you. So you can use a template that you've created of that communication, or you can free text. Obviously, if you've got a lot of these to send, then an email template is going to make it much easier, and then you can still change it. So remembering that this communication isn't connected to a job, so it can't bring in job information and it can't bring in location information. So if you wanted to free text that, you've got your template of most of the wording that you're looking to use, and then you're adding in the address if you wish. That's totally up to you. So you can add that communication and then set the date and the time that you want that communication to be sent. So a lot of clients will, go through all of the jobs that they did in May last year, for example, and email their customers. So if you're moving to Formitize using our job types, we'll do that for you automatically. But to transition to Formitize from your previous system, you could go in and create all of these reminders. So you can do it well in advance when you've got time to do so, and you don't need to do it on the physical day that the email needs to be sent. This can all be pushed in advance. You can also make it recurring, so up to you as a business, depending on your communication. You may want to, regardless of anything else that they're doing with your business, you may want to send an email on a regular basis, and you can do that here as well. All your reminders and all the historic reminders that have been sent are available in your history here in the customer profile as well. Okay. For communication that you are sending to clients as more of a bulk scenario, so you're looking to mass market out to your clients, we do have the MailChimp integration available as well. So that's using your Formitize contacts and your tags. So you can click on the MailChimp integration to be able to push your contacts to MailChimp, and you can create any marketing communication that you'd like to have within MailChimp, and then use the tags and statuses against your contacts in the CRM to be able to send out that communication whenever you need to. Your communication can be viewed in your email logs and your reminders through the Tools tab. So you're able to see all of the communication that has been sent out to your clients. So a nice and easy way to be able to see what's happened, as well as being able to have a look on the contacts themselves. Reporting functionality is also available within communication through the CRM. So this is available to admin users. So in your CRM, and then reports, you can run reports on your reminders and download CSVs of that data. So nice and easy to be able to see what's happened in the account. You can also add various filters to be able to get a specific range of information. So lots of different ways that communication can be set up within your account to make it really easy to be able to save lots of time within the business. So additionally, we have created some user guide articles for you to be able to view through the help menu, where you can have a look and see exactly, or some ideas of template communication that you can use. So you can have a look in the user guide for those under templates. We also can send communication from the top menu bar. So you can send straight from here. So if you want to send a new email, letter, SMS, again, it's going to use the template functionality available to you as well. So I think that covers off everything that I wanted to go through. I'm looking at the questions, I've covered off everything that was mentioned. If you did have any other questions, quite happy to help you further with those. So you can reach out to our support team through the help menu or send us an email to sales@formitize.com. On the socials, however you see fit to get in contact. I'll leave up a screen of how to book in a demo if you're not a client of Formitize already, and to book in some training if you wanted any further assistance. Hope you all have a wonderful day.